Hey everybody, this is Marian Cowagowan.
And this is David Owen.
And this is You Show Me Yours, the podcast where a married couple talks about the movies and TV that they loved before the first date. And today, I was made to watch Stargate.
Yes, Stargate. Not the beginning of the ancient aliens phenomenon, but certainly contributed to it, I imagine. Stargate, of course, is the 1994 Roland Emmerich joint. And it is a movie about ancient aliens and what if the pyramids in Egypt and effectively all of our civilization actually came from aliens.
Awesome. So It's like that one History Channel guy if he were a movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I thought for a minute in researching that one of the ancient alien guys was actually the Egyptologist advisor on this, but it just turns out that he looks like one of the guys that's one of the talking heads. He was not. In fact, I saw a picture of him on set, and I was like, "Oh my god, that looks like just like one of the guys, not the hair guy, not the crazy guy,
okay,
but one of the guys that wears the jacket with the patches on the elbows and says, "Oh, this is a possibility that this might be." Yeah. So I was like, oh, this is too perfect if one of the ancient alien guys actually was the advisor on this movie, but no.
But no. Side note.
Sidebar.
That is something that I am learning to love about academia. You can be a very well-known, well-respected expert in your field and look like a crazy person.
Oh, yeah.
I'm taking a grad class this semester, and we watched a video in our last class about it was interviewing, I don't even know who he was. He was a professor of, physics or chemistry or something that's way beyond my understanding. And this man, I tell you, had the craziest head of white hair.
Yeah.
We're talking it stuck 4 inches out from his head. And it wasn't curly. It was, straight. But somehow it just looked like he had stuck his finger in a light socket. And he was quirky and he was funny and charming and weird. And he can do that because he is a tenured professor and doesn't give a fuck anymore.
Yeah.
I aspire to that level of job security and just effortless eccentricity.
Yeah. Well, he's keeping up the tradition of,
yes.
your Albert Einstein and all that,
The wacky academic. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. Eccentric, I'm sure that there's something to be said about being smart enough to be one of the top people, on the cutting edge of human thought.
Yes.
That you probably do have a little bit of something different going on in your brain.
Your brain is so full of actual thoughts that there's no room for thinking about grooming or fashion or anything.
Or you just think about it on a whole different level.
Yeah. I do not have that problem, situation, blessing,
right.
Whatever you want to call it. My brain thinks about style, maybe not first, but not
often.
Last either. But so fun academics. Yay. Okay. Back to the movie.
Stargate. So if you haven't seen this movie, I'll give you the back of the box quick version, which we already kind of have. Daniel, I forgot his last name.
Jackson.
Because
I went to school with a guy named Daniel Jackson. So I was like, he's
got to be the same guy.
He's dreamier than the guy I went to school with.
Played by James Spader. Is a kind of a rogue guy in the field of Egyptology, and he has this theory that the pyramids were built much earlier than we think, than they're attributed, because of various reasons. And it turns out that Catherine Langford, I believe, actually found something that might have some, might reinforce his theory. She recruits him to work on a government project where they are deciphering a cover stone, which is like a big circular rock that is usually placed over a tomb or something. And he ends up figuring out how to decipher it in a very sort of Arrival-esque, or, Arrival is a very Stargate-esque. He comes in and there's a whiteboard and there's a translation written on it, and he just starts marking stuff out. That's wrong. Yeah. That's not right. And he starts fixing it up. And finds out that they got themselves a Stargate, and it leads to a planet on the other side of the known universe. And sure enough, Ra is there, of ancient Egyptian god fame, And he did, in fact, kind of create human civilization and ancient Egypt.
And then outlawed reading and writing so that the civilization he has on this planet would not escape.
Right.
Basically, which is
so the technical part of this is that Ra is an alien, and like a gray, like he looks like an alien. You'd think an alien would look, or like how we thought in the 90s an alien would look.
Yeah, he looks straight out of X-Files.
Right. Yeah. And he takes over a human body when he comes to Earth the first time. And he then recruits a bunch of Earthlings that basically they deify him, they worship him, and he takes a bunch of them through the Stargate to mine this mineral that only exists on this one planet or something that's on the other side of the Stargate, and it sustains his life and all of his advanced technology. So without it, he will die, because without his advanced technology, he finds out that if he puts himself inside of a human body, his technology can keep a human body alive indefinitely, but it can't keep him alive, and he's the last of his race. And so he lives inside this human body, which is Jay Davidson's body from the Crying Game.
I mean, if you're going to choose a human body to live in, that's a pretty nice one. Yeah.
And so that, he brings he's got this whole, I was hoping you'd get that part, that like the people on the other planet through the Stargate are humans that he took. Like they're humans. They're just ancient Egyptians that some people are like, why do these aliens look like humans? Like they are humans. And he after the revolt that closed off the Stargate, it's the classic thing of like, you find a door, don't open it. You find a sarcophagus with the juice, don't open it.
Definitely don't.
No. But we open the Stargate. And so he's got this whole civilization of people that are still like Stone Age on the other side of the Stargate that are mining this mineral for him for forever and sustaining his life. And Daniel Jackson, Jack O'Neill, a bunch of ragtag army guys, including French Stewart, in his failed I'm going to be kind of a jokery tough guy role. Like he's always reminded me of your favorite Ernest P. Worrell. So he's like Ernest's nephew if you went into the military. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah. And they go through, they're just supposed to assess the situation and come back. But then once they get back on the other side, what Daniel has not really told Jack O'Neill, as portrayed by Kurt Russell, is that he needs the same tablet, the same instructions on the other side, because what Daniel figures out that allows them to get through the Stargate is that the instructions, these hieroglyphs that they can't identify, aren't hieroglyphs. They are star charts. They are constellations. And that's how they end up figuring out where this other planet is. There's a lot of questions. Why didn't they just, through process of elimination, because they're missing one symbol, and it's literally just right below the rest of the symbols. It's just not like in the parentheses. So they're just like, we don't know what the other symbol is.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like if you get in an elevator and there's no buttons and you're like, I guess I'm just stuck here until the elevator decides to take me somewhere.
Just start pressing buttons. So anyway, the gist of this movie is some military guys and a scientist go through a portal and find an ancient Egyptian god there. They has fight and things happen. There's a lot going on with this movie. Like probably the easiest thing to start with is the ancient alien stuff. I think there is a growing sort of sentiment that ancient alien stuff is like inherently racist.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because you know, people will say, oh, look at these pyramids, look at these monuments in Egypt. They are carved with such precision that it's like otherworldly. Like people at the time didn't have tools and knowledge to do this stuff. Right. But right across the Mediterranean in Greece at the exact same time, they were doing the exact same thing with the exact same tools that were available to ancient Egyptians. Yeah. And no one says, why did these white people have, why didn't these white people have help? Or, they had to have had help. It's only in places like South America and Central America where you find all of those pyramids, and everything in Africa and even some in the Middle East where they say, these not white people must have had help. and it's so advanced and so precise. It must have been aliens.
Well, you know what? I didn't even think about the Greeks. I was thinking about Stonehenge. But what's funny
Stonehenge.
is Greeks and Egyptians not that far off from each other. I mean, when you think of,
they were contemporary. Cleopatra.
well, I just mean, like,
Oh, you mean geographically?
The notion of who is white started out as very small and has come to encompass more and more ethnic groups. But at one point, Greek people weren't considered white.
Well, right, Greeks.
So,
Greeks, famously not white, actually.
Yeah.
But have and this pun is on purpose, have been included in the pantheon of white people.
Because, whiteness is a construct, folks.
Yes.
Means nothing.
Yes, and Greeks are not like they are olive-skinned like real full-blooded ancient Greeks would have been closer to how everybody in this movie looked, which is to say they were all sort of vaguely Middle Eastern in their look, brown skin, but not too dark, except for one actor who was dark. How do you say his name?
Jaimin Hansu?
Right. I can never remember
Although I think he's listed as just Jaimin.
Yeah, this is one of his super early roles.
Yeah.
Super early role for him. He's the only noticeably black person in the movie, but at that time it wouldn't have probably been out of the question to have seen someone of his skin tone
on the alien
planet. Right.
Yeah.
There's the crew that goes, the American crew, that the Air Force crew is mixed. There's I think a Hispanic guy, there's a black guy, there's a couple white guys.
As in anything with the military, is you got to have
There's a French steward in there.
A well populated,
Yeah. So like that's like fully acknowledge that like ancient aliens are inherently racist. Like just, of course they are, because everything is. And I don't say that like cynically, like so like pretty much everything is in one way or another rooted in racism. But so ancient aliens, like a lot of this stuff is comes from a book. Is it Chariot of the Gods? I think it is, from the 70s, where a lot of these ideas were put forth, especially surrounding Egypt and some of the Machu Picchu, and like the ones in like how are they making the same pyramids, and like somebody's clearly instructing them like, well, those pyramids are totally different. And also like pyramids are a natural thing. Like when you don't know how to build walls vertically that will stay up, arches and pyramids and things like that, just they're a natural way that you would build things.
If the Romans figured these things out, other people are going to figure them out too.
But so you can get to have your ancient alien fun when you watch this, if you want, and imagine that guy saying aliens or whatever, whatever he says. I don't know.
I think he just says, what is he? I'm not saying it was aliens, but it was aliens.
Yeah,
we'll have to
much.
find the
we'll put a picture of that guy.
The GIF. I'm sorry. I know there's a controversy and I never can remember which one.
I mean, the controversy is that people think it's pronounced GIF.
And it's GIF.
And it's GIF. Okay. Yeah. I mean, people are, let's not even get started on that.
I don't care.
The guy who made it says it's pronounced GIF, and we are a GIF household, and you will say GIF.
Okay.
Or you.
How about I just say the peanut butter?
Yes.
The peanut butter one. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah. So, excuse me. Yeah.
Could I make a note about the casting?
Yes.
Here? So, and I said this while we were watching, I don't know if I've ever seen a Kurt Russell role where he is not jaded, cynical, like an overworked,
right? Like falling down.
Some sort of I mean, I'm thinking of what else he's been in. I'm thinking of Backdraft. He's like this salt of the earth guy who's got such emotional pain.
Yeah,
like he really has only a couple different roles in him.
Oh yeah,
this is the one.
Anytime he's in an action movie, he's playing some variation of Snake Plissken from.
Oh, and I haven't seen that
from
one.
Escape from New York and L.A. McCready from The Thing. Like all of these guys are like, jaded vets that just they.
He's like a coiled spring waiting to strike.
But also like O'Neill, what an arc he has, right? Like the first time we meet
Well,
him,
he's got an intense backstory, and then
Yes.
just like, where does that even go?
I mean, it develops throughout the
a
course of the movie.
little
I would
bit,
argue.
but you have to want it to see
I would
it.
argue. But yeah, so he starts out, the first time we see him, he is in his dead son's bedroom, who accidentally shot himself.
And
We're assuming with one of his own guns.
caressing a gun.
And he's caressing a gun, probably just seconds from shooting himself when two military men show up and are like, "You've been reactivated," which really healthy thing.
Yeah.
Like totally, absolutely healthy thing that this father who is mourning and clearly suicidal, mourning his son's death. Oh, we need you back on the job.
File this next to Lethal Weapon in the How Not to Handle Grief movie.
Yeah,
section.
yes.
Oh boy.
A lot of heroic guys mourning the recent loss of their sons.
Yeah.
So what a story. But yeah, he goes through this whole thing. He kind of bonds with Skara, who is the son of kind of the leader of the Egyptians on the planet that they go to on the other side of the Stargate. And there's a whole thing that with them, and he learns to kind of let go, I guess, of some of his grief by kind of establishing a relationship with that kid, But yeah, he is originally literally sent on a suicide mission.
Yeah,
like he comes out through the course of the movie that his orders were literally to get everybody back but himself, and then detonate a nuke
to close
the portal.
Yeah.
Now at this time, they don't know this yet, but this Stargate can go anywhere that there's a Stargate. So, blowing it up would only do so much because Stargate turned into a whole universe of stuff.
Well, I can't. Yeah, was there a TV show?
Yes,
okay.
in which O'Neill and Daniel appear. Also, the West, the general played by Leon Rippey in this in the movie or in the show, he is played by the dad of Laura Palmer from Twin Peaks.
I don't remember.
Bald. He's like a military man. He dresses in his little military outfit at some point in the show. Bald actor. Can't remember his name. But yeah, he's played by that guy. He's played by Leon Rippey, who's a character actor. He's in a ton of stuff.
Okay.
He would later be in The Patriot also directed by Roland Emmerich. But yeah, this whole and O'Neill is played by Richard Dean Anderson for like 10 seasons.
I gotta say, MacGyver was a little intense, but never quite that Kurt Russell no angst. Like he never had a vein in his forehead that vibrated.
No. And I don't recall, but I believe that the whole dead kid suicidal backstory is not really ever mentioned again. And yeah, he's sort of an even-handed, like he's kind of like a combination between Picard and Captain Kirk. He's like, he will get down and dirty when he needs to, but he's diplomatic most of the time. He goes on to play that role for a long time. And yes, they find out, Daniel comes back. I guess he comes back through the portal. Okay. And O'Neill does say at the end, I'll be seeing you.
Yeah. I was like, wait, what are we,
And that was there for a sequel to the movie.
Yeah.
But the sequel to the movie never got off the ground. And then the writer, I want to say his name's Dan Devlin, but that might not be. His last name is Devlin. Him and maybe his brother, they kind of created the extended universe, and it involved Stargate SG-1, Stargate. I think there's literally a show called Stargate Universe, Stargate Atlantis. I think they're even rebooting, or they're bringing back. I saw some pictures of Richard Dean Anderson like reprising his role as O'Neill. So who knows? But hundreds of episodes of television, video games, probably action figures, who knows? But this turned into a whole thing, which was never really Roland Emmerich's deal. So he just kind of didn't stick around for most of that. I think he was kind of there he was interested in maybe a sequel. But yeah. So yeah, blowing up the Stargate, not really that big of a deal. Even though, spoilers, why'd you be listening to this? They didn't blow up the Stargate. Yeah. They blew up Ra instead at the end of the movie.
Yeah. One other
Yeah,
casting note.
What do you got?
This is also the only role I've seen James Spader in where he is not menacing in some way.
I think you need to watch more James Spader. He is sort of.
I've seen him in Secretary.
Yeah.
Which is one kind of menacing, and then he's the '80s villain in what is he in? He's in Pretty in Pink and probably some other
Sex, Lies, and Videotape.
And then he's in The Blacklist, which he's another kind of So like,
he 100%. Like his bread and butter is this sort of menacing. He also does the voice of Ultron in the Marvel and the Avengers, Age of Ultron, which is great. It's a great performance by him. It's like his characters, his menacing characters, but with like a little bit of the Joker mixed in. So like this, it's like he's menacing, but he also is like carefree. It's really weird. But Spader also did play a series of sort of neurotic, like I think what does he call him, a dork at one point, or a dweeb. Yeah, like dweeby kind of guys in a few movies. None of them are coming to mind. Well, probably kind of Sex, Lies, and Videotape, but
yeah.
So he kind of has two modes, unlike Kurt Russell
has one.
Right. He kind of does. He does menacing. As he got older, he was able to do menacing. So Spader's great in this. Everybody's great in this as far as acting. Like even French Stewart, bless his heart. He's given it his all. He doesn't. He only squints when the sun is in his eyes.
Yeah.
He gives it his all.
He doesn't count and say, "Hey, wait, there's 3 rocks by the sun."
Right.
1, 2, 3. Yeah.
Sure.
Also great. Well, great's not really the word, but we enjoyed seeing him. Richard Kind.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, he makes me laugh.
I love a Richard Kind.
Yeah.
Just a drop in.
Yeah.
Like it's just a drop in.
He's in for the first 30 minutes of the movie, and that's it.
Yeah, and he is the guy who wrongly translated the stuff that Daniel marks up when he first gets to the base, the military base, and at some point later they're like, this guy figured out in 2 weeks what it took you guys what you couldn't figure out in 2 years. And Daniel's character is like you could see him like in his head thinking 2 years. Yeah. So he plays a kind of inept Egyptologist / scientist in this movie, and just great. Yeah. And the other guy was Eric Avari, who you've seen in a lot of things. But he's great in this. He plays, like I said, the dad of 2 of the characters, Skara and Sharu.
I don't know. Yeah.
And he's kind of like the de facto patriarch, leader of the village on the other planet.
Was he in any of the Indiana Jones movies? Is that why I was getting an Indiana Jones vibe? I think between him and just desert.
Yeah.
Trouble communicating with people, and then they're eating all this food that looks unfamiliar. Like I said to you, I expected someone to come out and go, "Chilled monkey brains."
Yeah. I can't. That's one of those things. Like he's in so much stuff, but I couldn't tell you what movie he's in right now.
Yeah. Okay.
But he's in a ton of stuff. You'll know him. Look him up. You'll know him when you see him. But yeah, this movie just has a ton of great character actors. Some of which went on to be kind of character actors. Some of them flirted with bigger stuff, but like French Stewart. But yeah, this movie's all over the place. Forgive me if I'm going everywhere. Let's pause for a second.
Okay. Give
me your thoughts. You just watched Stargate.
Yeah.
The movie that launched 1,000 episodes of television. What'd you think?
Okay. This is, you said there were TV series. This isn't the one that had Jonathan Brandis in it. That is
Sequest,
which is different. Okay.
Totally different. And Roy Scheider.
Okay. I'm mixing up my WB TV shows.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Not that. I would say there were a lot of moments in here where I was like, I don't understand why they're doing this, but okay. Like you kind of have to watch it at arm's length sometimes. Because between the language barrier and they don't fully explain a lot of stuff, and I'm sure you're going to say, "Oh no, they totally explain it because." Well, totally. I didn't get it, but whatever. So don't. In my family, we used to have a saying. I guess my grandmother had little patience for complicated plots and twists and turns and things like that. So if we were explaining a movie to each other and it was like Ocean's 11, she would have hated, right? Because there's so many we would say it's not a Gina movie.
Yeah.
Like don't, she wanted very simple, straightforward story. This is not a Gina movie. Also because there's explosions and all kinds of things.
I call this a popcorn movie.
Yeah.
Like turn off your brain, get your popcorn, and just watch it. And if you can take it at face value, you'll probably have fun on some level.
Yeah, I would say it's fun. I imagine this came out in the summer, right? This is the kind of movie where you want to go. It's stupid hot. You want to go sit in the air conditioning for 2 hours and freeze, and have a bowl of popcorn that you can sit in.
Oh yeah,
and a soda as big as your head, and just not think.
This would have been around the birth of the summer blockbuster.
Yeah.
Early 90s to mid 90s, where these summer blockbusters started becoming a thing. And in fact, Roland Emmerich would go on to be sort of a connoisseur of summer blockbusters. We've been name dropping him like everybody knows who he is, but if you don't, he's still active today. He just directed that movie Moonfall, where the moon falls to Earth or something. But that's what he does, right? What do you think happens in a movie called Moonfall? I'm asking you directly here, co-host.
It's a drama, clearly.
Right.
About it's meditation on life and the difficult choices that we make.
Oh yeah. No, it's a disaster movie. And so after this, Roland Emmerich would go on to direct Independence Day. Mm-hmm. And as soon as he did that, he was the disaster movie guy because he blew stuff up real good on film. Mm-hmm. So what I wrote is Roland goes on a roll. Bump, because this was kind of the start of it. Prior to this, he had directed a bunch of stuff, including Universal Soldier, which is a great Dolph Lundgren and Jean-Claude Van Damme movie about U.S. military soldiers that are brought back from the dead to be killing machines.
Oh, excellent!
Yeah, they're wonderful.
That sounds like something my grandmother would have adored.
Oh yeah. So Roland would go on from here to become the disaster guy. He made Day After Tomorrow. Yes. I do. I don't like all disaster movies, but I do like that one. Yeah, he made 2012. When the world was supposed to end in 2012. Remember that?
Yeah.
Remember that when the world was supposed to end in 2012?
Sometimes I wish it had.
He made that. He made this movie Moonfall. He made another Independence Day. He made Godzilla, that bad Godzilla movie with John Cusack from the 90s that everybody hated because they took an iconic monster that had been in like 30 movies and redesigned him to look like an iguana. And everybody hated it, but it had that Puff Daddy song.
Don't even know.
In it. So people at least forgave it for that. It also has the soundtrack has a really good Rage Against the Machine song too. So just shout out to the soundtrack for Godzilla.
Did we see this one?
No, I don't think so.
I feel like I saw some Godzilla movie.
Did Godzilla look like an iguana?
I don't remember. Was Naomi Watts in the Fay Ray role?
That's King Kong.
Okay. Then I don't know. No,
we may have watched King Kong.
We did, yeah, and Jack Black's
which has
in it?
Yes,
okay.
which has like dinosaurs in it.
Okay,
but does not have a Godzilla in it or the Godzilla.
I mean, Godzilla,
King
Kong, whatever.
Get it straight.
Same.
But yeah, so yeah, this was the movie that kind of secured Roland Emmerich's spot. I don't think it was a huge success, but I think I'm pretty sure it made money, or at least it impressed the right people.
Okay, Roland Emmerich question here. Explain to me the relationship. Roland Emmerich. Isn't there a Toby Emmerich?
No idea.
And then Noah Emmerich.
I am not.
Noah
is
the actor.
Roland Emmerich's keeper.
You need to know these things. Come on. Didn't you prep?
Not to that extent. I mean, I am going to guess.
Noah is the actor, and he's a little older than we are. And I don't know about Toby, but I feel like there are people with those those names.
Let's see what the Wikipedia says.
Is it like a Skarsgård situation where the names are very similar but they're not related at all?
I don't know. Andre, Germany, Anne Frank, Toby, Jewish.
What are you?
Acapella.
You're saying words.
Yeah, I don't know. He has two brothers, Warner Brothers Picture Chairman Toby Emmerich and Adam Emmerich.
Okay.
It would appear
that
Roland is not related, but Toby is. But Noah is the recipient of nepotism.
Well,
because his brother runs Warner Brothers or is in a high position of power. So
he's been
that
in
was
some
our
thankless roles, though, so.
Google Minute.
Yeah.
Why should you Google it when we can live on the podcast?
Yep.
So yeah, Roland Emmerich. I recommend all of his movies. They're all popcorn movies. Even the dumb ones are fun. I'm sure that new Moonfall movie, if it's not already on demand, I will end up watching it when it's on demand because it's going to be a big dumb movie. He probably did that movie Geostorm with Jerry Butler, where.
You on a first name basis?
Oh yeah,
you're in
Jerry.
nickname basis. You call him
me and
Jerry.
Jerry all the time. Like I got him in my Rolodex here.
Okay.
That's a callback to like an episode ago where I said
Sure.
the word Rolodex.
I think it takes a little more than that to be a callback.
I'm making it a thing. Put it on a T-shirt.
Okay.
It's in my Rolodex. That's my merch.
That'll be in our merch store when we have one.
Yep, in the merch store. So Roland Emmerich, disaster movie guy, watches movies. What else we got? Oh yeah, speaking of like Roland Emmerich, David Arnold does the music for this, and he would go on to do many, if not most, of Roland Emmerich's future movies. And what I wrote is that this movie has David Arnold as John Williams. Like he has even said he's aping John Williams. He's aping the soundtrack from Lawrence of Arabia. There's some Jerry Goldsmith type stuff in there.
Well,
it's very symphonic.
Well, we need a next John Williams because how old is John Williams at this point?
Oh, like 1,000 years. Yeah, like 1,000
how
years
is he still alive? I feel like he's always looked old.
Oh yeah. He
like
has.
30 years ago, he looked old.
Oh yeah, like when he did Star Wars, it was like he looked like he was in his 50s or 60s then.
Yeah,
and he kept doing it for another like 50 years.
Yeah, oh my God, that wasn't 50 years ago.
Star Wars, what was it, 70?
It was 45.
45 years, right. That's
totally
right.
different.
77.
45 is not 50.
You're
Thank
right.
You.
You're right.
45 is so far off from 50.
It's not even really close. It's closer to 30 than 50, honestly.
It is. You round down with the fives. That's my rule, and I'm sticking to it.
She's 45, if you didn't know.
I think they figured that out.
Yeah. So yeah, David Arnold just like he knocks it out of the you said the music made you tense. When it first started in the intro, you were like, this is tense.
Because it was, I don't know, there was some like minor key or there was some like, what's the word? Ululating? Where you do it in the back of the throat? I can't do it.
That sounds racist.
It does.
What are you doing?
It does. I'm sorry.
Trying to get us canceled.
I don't know.
I don't know.
You know, like a high pitched indigenous sort of thing happening in the back. It made me anxious.
Yeah. The movie opens with like a slow pan over Ra's like sarcophagus or whatever.
Yeah, it turns out to be that. You think that it's like a spaceship or something like that.
Yeah, and it's just his like headdress or whatever.
Which looks like a dog.
And
right?
yeah, like the theme slowly sort of, well, no, that just looks like a face. The theme just sort of slowly.
It looked like a dog to me, but okay.
Okay, well, it was a human face, but if it looked like a dog, okay. Either way, speaking of looking like dogs, I do like what this movie does with a lot of its special effects and stuff, including the designs for the guards, which all take on the appearances of like Anubis and all of the animal-headed Egyptian gods. I thought it was a really interesting take. Patrick Tatopoulos did the design work, like the storyboard or the design and a lot of the special effects for this movie. And you may know his work from I just totally forgot the name.
Well done.
I totally forgot. It's a franchise. Black Leather. It's not The Matrix. Vampires versus Werewolves. Kate Blanchett. No. Kate Beckinsale.
Is it Underworld?
Underworld. There you go. I kept wanting to say Evolution, but there's a movie called Underworld Evolution.
Okay, you said Black Leather and franchise, and I was like, oh my God, 50 Shades? What? But
Come on. No, so yeah, I think that's kind of where he made his name. He did the special effects and the design work for the Underworld movies, or certainly for the first couple. And this was one of his earlier projects. But I love that they take, now I digress back. Let me regress back to where my point was, somewhere over there. They take all of the gods, the animal headed gods, and they turn them into these like helmets. So they have these like animatronic, crocodile and coyote heads and stuff.
And they retract at like the push of a button.
Right.
It's kind of neat.
Right. Yeah. So it's this really cool way to say like, hey, all these drawings that everybody's like, why are they depicting them this way? Like their ancient Egyptians were depicting their gods that way because literally what they considered to be gods, the guards wearing the masks because they were associated with Ra and had all his tech and all his power. They had helmets that looked like these animals. So it was like especially back in the 90s when this first came out, I was like, oh man, like that is such a cool way to explain why ancient people would have depicted these gods this way.
Well, and I thought it was well done. You didn't see like this glow behind it or anything. Whereas with every so often Ra's eyes glow. I don't know what that's supposed to symbolize, really mad or whatever. But that seemed kind of fake.
Yeah,
the helmets just worked.
That's
me.
The eye glow is one of the worst special effects. Apparently, that was added because up until like you know how they do in Hollywood, they do the test screenings and people are like, oh, we didn't, on the way out, they give you the questionnaire and they go, did you understand that Ra was an alien? And people are like, no, we didn't get that part. We just thought he was a dude. So they added a bunch of scenes. There's a scene where they're explaining what happened. Daniel he's reading the
hieroglyphics.
Hieroglyphics.
Very explicit.
And he is explaining it and you actually see an alien head as he's coming down to Earth. And then when he gets blown up at the end of the movie, he very briefly changes into his alien form and then gets like blown away by the nuke. And they also added the eye glow apparently to get you to understand that he was like more than human. But yeah, it's the lamest special effect.
I mean, if somebody's a god, they're clearly more than human. So that's like a
but that's the thing. Like
I don't know.
I don't know if the confusion was, well, they just thought he was a god because even back then, 3,000, 10,000 years ago, he had this technology that made people just assume he was a god.
Oh, well.
Like, it's the saying like, to a primitive civilization, any technology seems like magic.
Yeah.
Same kind of thing. Like if he had all this technology that he has, so obviously not human, but not like, yeah. So that's why some of that stuff got added in there. I do wish the glowing eye stuff hadn't been added because it is the one special effect that was kind of iffy because this was kind of the time where the transition was happening from digital, from everything being practical to being digital or much more digital. 3 years later, you'd have Phantom Menace, which was, or not 3 years later, like 5 years later, you'd have Phantom Menace, which was like shot almost entirely on green screen with like no real sets and no real nothings. So this was in that transitional period where CGI could do a little bit, but mostly it was practical stuff. The heads are practical. The Anubis heads, all that stuff, that's all practical. It's an animation when they retract, but it's all practical. The sets are all practical. Like they went out in the middle of the desert and built not the pyramid. The pyramid was a painting or whatever, a matte painting, but the entrance to the pyramid where the pillars and the big entrance, that's all built. And that's like 8 or 10 stories tall. All of the sets around the villages and stuff, they're all, it's all real set. All the interiors, it's all real stuff in a way that you would never do today because it would be way too expensive. This would be like a multi-$100 million movie today, and it probably was like 90 million when it was made. This would be like a $500 million movie.
Pocket change.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Pocket change.
No big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
Speaking of locations.
Yeah.
We noticed that. So at the very beginning, they take Daniel to this underground military facility, and I am 99% sure that is where, or it's at least the exterior where they filmed War Games.
Oh yeah. It's that little hole in the mountain. I don't know if that's a tunnel or if it's actually some kind of a bunker built into the mountain. But yeah, it's
gotta be.
This is a military base cut to chain link fence in front of an entrance that goes into a mountain. And yeah, you've seen that in a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and that's in Colorado, which is where the thing in War Games is. Which that doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, that doesn't mean.
But anything. I was just like, I'm gonna fan wank. That is absolutely.
Oh, totally.
After they made it clear that artificial intelligence to launch missiles was not a good idea, they shut that down, and so Catherine got it for cheap. So that's where she has her place now.
Just jumped, brought her Stargate,
right? Exactly,
and jumped in there.
Exactly.
And yeah, they've only been there for 2 years, so at a certain point, you start things start lining up. You you get your timeline down. It's all good.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much more there is to say about this movie. I mean, it was Siskel and Ebert hated it apparently. Just double thumbs down. I think Ebert especially went out of his way to say it's garbage or something like that. And this is another one of those movies, like a lot of my movies, we'll do movies eventually like Tremors and movies like that just bombed or didn't do as well in the theaters, and then really came into their own when they hit video.
Yeah.
And over the years became cult classics because of their VHS sales and it's the kind of thing that's so hard to get made today, because almost every movie that I truly love was a failure. Raised in Arizona, Labyrinth, so many of these movies failed on their initial release, but found a home on video with a receptive audience who turned them into classics. Return to Oz, movies we've done on this podcast were just financial disasters that ended up finding their way into the hearts of a generation of Gen Xers and elder millennials, and in a way that it's so difficult to replicate. And the benefit with making a movie is so high now that it's so hard for movies like this to get made. Not that they just don't get made at the Hollywood level anymore. There are tons of amazing independent filmmakers out there making wonderful movies. But this came from a Hollywood, this is MGM, this came from a Hollywood studio, and it's a wacky movie about weird Egyptian alien stuff, and just movies like this don't get made that much anymore. But actually that one last point, that reminded me that I've talked about this before. This is the kind of movie that I love because it's the kind of movie that hints at a bigger world. And now in this movie, they literally explore, in this, what became the franchise, they literally explore the bigger world. They spend, hundreds of hours of television exploring the bigger world. But in the 80s and 90s, movies like this were getting made all the time that just made you feel like you were getting this sneak peek into a window into a world that was fully fleshed out. Like movies like Terminator, Total Recall, Alien, all these movies that were just they were so much was put into creating the world that they were going to exist in, and so much stuff that was never going to make it on film. Knowing the history of the world and how things went and how we got to where we are and all the stuff that led up to it. I love that stuff, and this is one of those movies, and that's always going to get me. That kind of thing is always going to pull me in. If it feels like when I watch a movie and I feel like, oh man, the writer, or the director, or both had pages of notes on how this world exists outside of the scope of the film.
It just adds some texture.
Yeah. Oh, nice. Totally. Yeah. Because they don't explain where Ra's alien race comes from, who they really are, why they're extinct, the extent of what he actually did while he was on Earth, what has been happening on the planet for the last 2,000 years. None of it, none of it is explained. The culture of the people that are on that planet, nothing. You get a glimpse into it, but they really don't explain very much at all. I love that stuff. That's like catnip for me. But yeah, that's probably all there is to say about Stargate.
Yeah. Well, and if there's anything else for us to be said, we would love it if you, our listeners, would tell us. You can drop us a line you can email us, you can find us on Facebook, or you can find us on Twitter. Our handle is the same for all three. It's YSMY Podcast. Why Some Why for You Show Me Yours. We're at Gmail. And Facebook and Twitter. And on Facebook and Twitter, you can also find links to our latest episodes and, share some thoughts there too. We might have a conversation. You never know. We don't have the problem that the folks in this movie do. We all speak the same language. So much easier. We don't have to rely on hieroglyphics or anything. If you would like to help us out, you can find our latest episodes on most of your major podcast providers, specifically Apple Podcasts. Also, while you're there, you can rate, review, and subscribe. You just do that one time. It helps us out, helps us move up the chart from, last place to 10th from last or something. And if you subscribe, you'll get your latest episodes right in your queue. We have new episodes every other Wednesday. So 2 weeks from today, no matter when you're listening, there'll be a new episode. And next 2 weeks from today is the beginning of October, which is a special month for us. Dave, can you tell us what we're doing for October?
It's Dracula movies.
Do you want to?
I'm not supposed to get over the top, right?
You can do it this time.
I'm not gonna do the voice.
All right.
It's the Spooktacular. It's the second annual Spooktacular.
Now we can say
we're back. Yeah, we did it. We made it another year past the first Spooktacular.
Right.
We're going to do Dracula movies. We are going to do Dracula 1931 with Bela Lugosi. We are going to do Dracula 1958, also called The Horror of Dracula in America, with Christopher Plummer. Christopher Lee. Not Christopher Plummer. That'd be a whole different Dracula.
I'd watch that, though.
Yeah, totally. With Christopher Lee, we are going to do Dracula 1979. That's not called Dracula 1979. It's just Dracula. With Frank Langella in the title role.
I can't even.
Which I can't wait. I have seen that movie. I watched it on television a long time ago. I have almost no memory of it other than him having fabulously coiffed hair. And finally ending on Bram Stoker's Dracula, the Copeland joint, Francis Ford, Coppola, not Copeland. When I said Copeland, from 1992. So we are running the 70 years of Dracula. We're running the gamut, the whole deal. So it's all the Draculas that matter. Unless there's a new Dracula that's better, I don't know.
No Twilight.
No, that's not a Dracula. We got to go over this again. The Count is not a Dracula.
All right.
Dracula is a person.
Okay.
And these are vampires.
All right.
Vampires are not Draculas.
So the Venn diagram. All Draculas are vampires. Not all vampires are Draculas.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Only one vampire is Dracula.
All right.
That's how it goes. And his name is Dracula.
Does he have a first name?
Count. His first name is Count. His last name is Dracula. Count Dracula.
I want to see a birth certificate to back that up, but okay.
It's there. Okay. Yeah. So we're gonna watch 4 Dracula movies in 4 weeks, and they are. I had this idea and I thought it was great, and then I realized these are all retelling Bram Stoker's novel. So we're basically going to watch 4 different interpretations of the same source material over the course of a month. Yeah. So
we'll get our data visualization department to put some cool infographics together. No, we won't. No, we won't.
We'll run them during the podcast, so only you and I can see them.
Data viz is just me.
We will describe them to the audience.
Yeah. Should we read the book first? No.
I don't think that's gonna happen. No. Although, I will be interested to see. I do want to get some of the major plot points. Mm-hmm. And I've actually seen someone do this. I've seen I've read an article and watched a YouTube video where someone compared most of the famous Dracula movies and decided, which of these are closest to the book. Mm-hmm. But I would like to write down a few of the plot points and then just see how close any of these are or are not.
Yeah. They don't do this for every movie, but in the Wikipedia entry, when they talk about movies that are made from books, I enjoy it when they have differences between the book and the movie. And sometimes it's like, in the book she has 3 sisters, and this one she has 2. And sometimes it's like, in the book, this character dies. In the movie, this character lives. Totally different.
Yeah, in this one, it's going to be a lot of, they combine these 2 characters into one. Yeah. Or, for some reason, they just swap these 2 characters' names.
Yeah. We don't know why.
It's weird stuff like that in most of these movies, from what I understand.
All right. Well, in 2 weeks, get ready for the Dracula Spectacular. Whoa.
Oh, no.
I like that. We're gonna go with that.
You've taken it too far now.
The Draculactor. Anyway, I'll workshop it.
Yeah.
So come back in 2 weeks for our Spooktacular, the Dracula Spooktacular. we'll get a better one by then. In the meantime, this has been You Show Me Yours. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Bye. The You Show Me Yours theme song is Uplifting Electronic Indie by Winnie the Moog from filmmusic.io.